LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere I go. LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB. Whatever it is. LGB. Kamala, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
Thank you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB.
This means let's go, Brandon.
No. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas, this December 11th, 2023 at 10:28 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to be beginning today with my Work Smart, Not Hard segment, in which I do simultaneously the audio recording of the latest Brian Cates piece, and you see it live with my face on video for this show, and then I will see if there's time, because I haven't really looked too hard at how long it is, and maybe we'll do one from I don't know, all sorts of people right now. I've got Burning Bright, I've got Martin Geddes, I've got a new Prussiagate, I've got a Tree of Woe that we might get to, I've got a Brent Cates that I put in queue, I've got a Naomi Wolf. I've got Ryan DeLarme from Badlands Media on Gavin Newsom. All sorts of pieces that I have in queue right now. I'm not sure which one we're going to do. We're going to see how far along we are in the stream when I finish Brian Cates. In the meantime, my friends, don't forget, I am pumping shipping labels out onto Angel Paste boxes even as we speak. I just took 3 crates worth to the post office. Go to angelpaste.com. That's angelpaste.com. It's the best lotion the world has ever known, invented by my sister Barbara, manufactured personally by her at her home in Spring, Texas, sourced only from ingredients within the United States, including the bottle, the label, the cap, every food grade plant oil, which is the only thing that constitutes the ingredients of Angel Paste. All done right here in the U.S. by patriots, for patriots. It's got everything your skin wants, nothing that it doesn't. We're seeing dead skin tumbling off, eczema, psoriasis disappearing, age spots fading, sunburns prevented completely. You feel burnt in the sun, put this all over yourself. I came out of Jamaica never once using sunscreen. People are putting it in their hair. CanCon's putting it on his beard. It's a shaving balm, which I haven't even used it as yet. I've heard reports that it's the best shaving balm that anybody has ever used. Put it all over, shave, see what happens. In fact, I think I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. So guys, angelpaste.com. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my recently moisturized hands. And if you get 3 or more bottles, of course, you get free shipping. I am upgrading now from USPS Ground Advantage. I'm upgrading to USPS, the slightly faster version of that. We got to get these guys to you by Christmas. Order your Angel Paste today. Do not wait. We want to get it under your Christmas tree. Promo code Shapiro. All right. Let's start with the great Brian Cates. Expect more criminal indictments of Hunter Biden as the Weiss special counsel forces take news to focus on the Biden crime family's very real foreign bribery schemes. The issue of whether or not the illegal foreign bribery happened is now moot. By Brian Cates. From Chillum on Twitter, Hunter will not be offered a new sweetheart plea deal. Most importantly, more indictments will follow. Foreign money laundering, failure to register as a foreign agent, bribery. He's in trouble. Kudos to Chill for figuring this out. Of course, you're going to see people sticking to their pet narrative as this happens, as Hunter gets hit with more criminal indictments from the special counsel's office over the course of time, that this is just more cover-up to block the congressional investigations into the Biden crime family's illegal foreign bribery schemes. You know what would happen at the end of any successful congressional investigation into the Biden crime family's schemes? Do you? I do. I've been covering this stuff for a long time. What would happen is that Comer and his committee would send a referral for prosecution to the DOJ. It would then be up to the appointed special counsel, David Weiss, who has been investigating the Biden crime family since 2017, to look at the evidence and make a charging decision based on the criminal referral the House committee sent him. But Weiss is already criminally indicting the Biden crime family's bagman. And Weiss just did this last indictment in a way that forces everyone to look right at where all this money Hunter Biden didn't pay taxes on actually came from. The money Hunter Biden didn't report as income and didn't pay any taxes on and filed false tax returns to hide from the IRS came from foreign countries. Weiss is pointing right at the foreign bribery scheme with this latest indictment, and he will continue to do so. It'll help if you think of this as watching an onion being peeled layer by layer. The tax felony charges prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Biden crime family's illegal foreign bribery schemes were very real. What exactly in this highly politicized case do you think Weiss is doing? Forcing the partisan fake news media to reluctantly cover with this extensive and highly documented indictment, exhaustively laying out in great itemized detail all this dirty money Hunter Biden was being handed by foreign countries that he wasn't reporting as income and that he wasn't paying any taxes on. Can you stop and think about that with hard concentration for as long as 30 seconds? The death knell just sounded for one of the Biden crime family's favorite false narratives and the partisan fake news media's favorite defense of the Biden crime family, and I'll tell you why it's dead. Nobody from this point forward can say the Biden crime family's illegal foreign bribery schemes did not exist, because Hunter Biden was just indicted by the special counsel's office based on rock-solid documentary evidence for illegally hiding and not paying taxes on the profits from his cut from these illegal foreign bribery schemes. How could the special counsel be indicting anybody for any crime related to millions of dollars in foreign money they never received? Hunter obviously did receive the money. The indictment details the transfer of all those millions of dollars and then very helpfully itemizes for us how Hunter didn't pay any taxes on it. One line item, payments, various women, $683,212 from 2016 to 2019, among many other line items. If Hunter's being criminally prosecuted for not paying taxes on his cut of the foreign bribery, I bet you all the other people inside the Biden crime family also did the same damn thing Hunter did with their cut of the foreign bribery money. That is, every Biden crime family member that got a cut of the foreign bribery money did exactly what Hunter did. They hid the money. They did not report it as income. They filed false tax returns. Even if you were dumb enough to declare illegally gained profits in your tax return, you'd have to invent a fake explanation for where that money came from. You'd end up committing a federal felony when you signed the fraudulent tax return. Joe and Jim and every other Biden crime family member getting a cut of the illegal profits hid that money and didn't pay their taxes on it. How could they have? How could they explain to the IRS where the money came from? So they didn't report the income. And even if they did, they filed a false tax return either way because they would have lied in their filing about where the money came from. Does anybody remember how a RICO prosecution to take down a mafia family unfolds? Come on now, I can't be the only one. You don't start at the top, first prosecuting the big mafia boss himself and then go for the street-level soldiers for one thing. Crimes covered by the RICO Act: bribery, kidnapping, money laundering, murder, embezzlement, drug trafficking, prostitution. You also start with the lesser more easily provable, convictable crimes committed by the lower people as you work your way up the crime family's chain of command, like tax evasion pointing right at a RICO foreign bribery scheme, which is what this latest Biden crime family indictment does. Corporate fake news media is about to end up in a very bad place. After years of covering up for the Biden crime family, they're about to report extensively on the criminal case Weiss is building against the first son. Understand, after this latest indictment from the special counsel, fake news is being compelled to report on the exact figures, the extensively detailed amounts of money that Hunter Biden was handed by foreign countries where he didn't pay taxes on his cut of it. And it's apparent, if you read the indictment, most of this bribery cash from foreign countries where Hunter is the guy being handed all this money, an awful lot of that money did not stay in Hunter Biden's hands. Where did the rest of the foreign bribery money go? Whom did Hunter hand the rest of the cash off to? Who else got a cut of the profits? Fake news doesn't want to know, but Weiss is going to be telling them in other indictments that are coming. Look at the massive attention this last indictment of a Biden crime family member got in the media. What happens when Weiss drops the illegal foreign lobbying indictment on Hunter, when he drops illegal foreign bribery indictment on him? Ignore those indictments? How could the fake news possibly pull that off? This is just tax evasion you're hearing right now. True. But what was the source of the money Hunter wasn't paying taxes on? Is Weiss doing even one thing to try to hide where the money came from in this new CA indictment? Of course not. Read it. Weiss lays out in exhaustive detail exactly where this money came from: China, Ukraine, Russia, Romania. This indictment establishes beyond all question that Hunter Biden was acting as the bagman for an illegal foreign bribery scheme by detailing the transfer of all the foreign funds into his hands, and how he didn't pay his taxes on his cut of the profits from this criminal enterprise. Now, let's address a new talking point I see making the rounds today. The DOJ just indicted Hunter Biden again in CA to prevent his testimony before the congressional committee when he appears in response to the subpoena on the 13th. Weiss indicted Hunter to cause him to either not appear or not say anything substantive if he did. What? Let me explain this clearly. Hunter Biden would have done nothing in any congressional testimony but insist he is innocent and then take the fifth, even if this latest indictment from Weiss hadn't dropped just now. You think that new indictment changed the script in any way as far as how a Hunter appearance for congressional testimony would have gone? You really thought Hunter'd cough up substantial testimony to the committee while he was already under criminal indictment from the Delaware grand jury? Really? Why would you think that? I'll tell you how any congressional testimony from Hunter Biden would have gone even if this latest indictment from Weiss via the grand jury in California hadn't happened. He'd have sat there with a lawyer on either side of him, and he'd read a statement insisting he was innocent, and then he'd have pled the fifth, refused to give a substantive answer to any questions he was asked. And now that this latest indictment has dropped from Weiss, the exact same thing will happen if Hunter shows. You didn't know that? Wow. Just wow. Some people need to up their games. It helps you very greatly to follow these events if you can think, but most people don't want to think. They just want authority figures to hand them the answers. And so this stupid talking point is now making the rounds that Hunter Biden would have spilled his guts before the congressional committee next week if only this freaking indictment hadn't just dropped now. No. He would not have spilled his guts to the committee next week if this latest indictment had not dropped. He would have sat there with a lawyer on either side of him, carefully running each answer by them before giving a non-answer to questions put to him or pleading the fifth. Anybody thinking it would have gone any differently from this is imagining fantastical realities. Can't you even stop and see how you're being manipulated by outrage merchants? The same outrage merchants who spent the last 4 months insisting to you Weiss would never do anything else after unsealing a new indictment of Hunter in Delaware with new felony charges after his sweetheart deal blew up. How about stop reading hot takes delivered by people who told you for months there would be no further indictments of Hunter Biden from the Weiss special counsel and read the damn thing yourself? Link in the article. Don't be spoon-fed by others. Take control of your own news. Hunter is likely to get indicted in D.C. next. In fact, after reading this new indictment for myself, I'm going to remind people of something I said after Weiss dropped the new indictment on Hunter's head after his Delaware sweetheart deal fell apart, that you would see Weiss indict Hunter with an additional felony charges in California and D.C. I was laughed at for making that claim. Now, Weiss just indicted Hunter in California, so you know what's coming next, right? At this point, does Special Counsel Weiss and Special Counsel Weiss's investigators know who the other people were who were involved in this illegal foreign bribery scheme, how big their cuts of the profits were, and if they paid for or avoided the taxes on those profits? Do brown bears shit in the woods? Of course. They know who got the money from Hunter, how much they got, and what taxes they did or did not pay. They've traced all of it. They know who got the millions of dollars that Hunter didn't keep for himself. Can Weiss charge Hunter with not paying taxes on the profits from an illegal foreign bribery scheme, detail exactly how many millions of dollars were given to Hunter in illegal bribes without clearly demonstrating to all observers that the bribery scheme is real? No, he can't do that. That's why the reality of the foreign bribery schemes is the entire foundation on which this latest indictment of Hunter rests. That's why I'm now saying you will see more indictments from the Weiss special counsel, and some of these indictments will come from a grand jury seated by the special counsel in the District of Columbia. That's Washington, D.C., for those of you in real lindo. A lot of the U.S. end of the foreign bribery scheme pipeline was in the D.C. area, the D.C., Virginia, Maryland corridor. That's why you will see Weiss file the FARA violation felonies and the bribery felonies against Hunter there. Keep watching. This story is far from over. That's the latest from my dear friend, Brian Cates. Go to briancates.substack.com. That's briancates.substack.com. Original gangster of this entire community, one of the inspirations for me to get into this area, for John Harold to get into this area. Just an absolute stalwart. I will never stop reading Brian Cates. Guys, if you order your angel paste now, I can almost guarantee you'll get it before Christmas. You can never make shipping guarantees. Believe me, I know that now. But if you order now, I think it'll be there before, well in time for you to get it under the Christmas tree. I'm upping my game starting today to a slightly faster USPS shipping method. As we get closer to Christmas, I'm going to start opening the options for faster shipping. Right now, you don't have to pay for faster shipping. And if you order 3 or more bottles, you don't pay for shipping at all. Go to angelpaste.com, use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my greedy hands. Your skin will absolutely drink it up. It's just changing my life, guys. I mean, just the skin benefits are absolutely overwhelming. One of the things that I love about Angel Paste is that I get like dry skin on the back of my arms. This just literally wipes it away. It's incredible, really. Just to be able to get rid of dead skin without a trace of abrasion, that alone is huge. Then you go to the fact that it essentially prevents sunburns in a way that allows you to tan at the same time. It's incredible. Just amazing stuff. Angelpaste.com, promo code Shapiro. All right, what are we going to do next? I think we might make this a Cates brother Cates Brothers thing. Okay, so this piece is from December 4th. We'll make it a Cates Brothers show. That sounds like fun. So this one is from Brent Dwayne Cates, also known as the Graybeard. From BrentCates.substack.com. In the age of Trump, influencers are rising to new heights of sanity as our enemies impotently rage. By Brent D. Cates. This is from December 4th, 2023. I have several articles underway at the moment, but when I saw this clip of Tucker Carlson speaking, I knew I had to cover his message ASAP. Here is the clip, first of all. Oops, hang on. Where's the clip? Ah, there it is. Hold for processing. Like, there it is. Found it. All right, I'm going to play this for you.
My friends and I we just laugh like you. That's one of the things we like to do.
So
yeah, exactly like that.
You got a touch of the demented too. That's good.
That's exactly right. So, but I guess that's the question. Honestly, you maybe see more than the average person, expose yourself more to the average person. How do you keep from being jaded, so positive? We actually watch you because you're positive, because you laugh, because you see things like just with a good light. At least that's how we view it. Just wondering what you do either in your personal life or how you stay that way.
Such a great question. I mean, it's so funny. I had this long dinner with old friends of mine last night, and we're all, in our mid 50s, and your parents die, and you reach kind of peak expenditure with all your many children going to all these stupid schools, overpriced schools. And it's a hard time. If you can make it past like 56, life gets better. And all the surveys show that people are much happier in their 60s if they survive than they are in their 50s, and much happier than their 40s. And then add to that, and I'm not whining at all. I am happy. You're right. I do get a constant stream, really a torrent of like lunacy through my phone. I don't go on the internet that much, but I text with hundreds of people, and a lot of what they tell me is true. And so it does weigh on me. And I would say I have a whole program for that. And it's really simple. Staying cheerful, staying positive, staying clear-headed. I take a sauna every single day. I have a lot of dogs. They sleep in the bed. I spend a lot of time with my dogs. I get outside every single day. I hunt and fish, try every day if I can. And you make less money when you spend a lot of time outside. That's okay. But more than anything, I really care about my family. I think it's worth, especially if you have a job where people you don't know are judging you. It's so important. But even if you don't, it's so important to remember and repeat it as a mantra that the opinions of people you don't know mean nothing. And I always think it's like dogs barking, but actually when my dogs bark, I care. It's less than dogs barking. Never hand emotional control to people who don't love you. It's like handling a toddler a firearm. Why would you do that? You wouldn't. You'd be insane. And so if you just take all of your emotional energy and focus it on the people in your orbit, and if you're not married with children, focus on your siblings, your parents, your cousins, your coworkers, your employees, yes, your dogs. But keep your circle, the circle of people whose opinion you care about, really small. Ignore everybody else and pay very close attention to what they think. So in my case, obviously, I'm one of the most hated people in the world. And that causes me zero stress. I could care less. I don't care. No, I mean it. No, I'm not just saying that. I think it's obvious. I really don't care. However, if my wife were to say, I don't really like what you're doing, it would bring me to my knees. So it's in other words, everybody cares what other people think. Make the decision about who you hand that power to. And in my case, I've handed it all to my wife, my 4 children, my college roommates, the people who are my employees, the people who are closest to me right there. I really care what they think. I really sincerely do. I listen to them carefully. It means something. Their praise, which I don't get very often, but if I do, it means a lot. Their criticism is devastating. I put all my eggs in the basket of the people who love me, and no eggs at all in the countless baskets of people who hate me or who I don't know. Why would I care what you think? Honestly, why would I care? Let's just try to be rational about this. And the last thing I'll say is one of the reasons our political class is so disgusting is because they're also emotionally damaged and they look at life backward. Most people get into politics, not just in this country, but in all countries, not simply to wield power and get rich through corruption, though those are motivating factors, I can promise you, but because they have a desperate need to be loved by people they don't know. They can't wait to receive the adulation of strangers. And almost all of them have absent or alcoholic fathers to whom they're trying to prove something. I mean, they're damaged from childhood. I grew up in a broken home, actually, but I have an extremely close relationship with my father, always have. I revere him. And that's been a massive advantage for me, despite my disadvantages. That's been a huge thing for me. But regardless of your childhood, you just have to make the decision that you care about the people who care about you. And that's all you care about. And if you don't do that, you'll become a captive to insecurity, self-hatred. And what does self-hatred give way to every single time? Hatred of others. 100%. People who hate themselves hate you too. They do. And they'll mistreat you 100% of the time. And so politicians are almost, not all, and I know them all, I will say that, but they're almost all self-selected from the group of emotionally damaged people whose key desire, overwhelming, overriding desire, is to be loved by strangers. And that's the darkest sickness of all. I mean it. And that's why their behavior is so unbelievably screwed up and pathetic. And when you talk to them, last thing I'll say, like, you know that, like, I've gotten so old and crazy that I just assess people on the basis of their relationships at this point. And if your wife doesn't respect you and love you, and if your kids don't respect you, and if your employees think you're horrible, and you don't tip the waitress, I'm not your friend. And I mean that. Like, that's who knows you, is the people in your immediate orbit. And we believe this so much in my house that we don't even give to charity anymore. Any nonprofit charity, period. We haven't taken a tax deduction on a charitable contribution in a long time, and my wife is a fervent Christian, so we're giving 10%. But we give it all the people we know in our orbit. And so my view is, you know, I'm sure Feed the Children is a great charity or whatever. There are a million of them. But does my housekeeper need a new car? How could I possibly justify giving mosquito nets to kids in Congo if my housekeeper's in need? I mean that. I couldn't. And that's a reflection of my view that you're put on this earth to serve the people right around you. And anytime someone talks about effective altruism or helping people he's never met and never will meet, and the consequence of that help will never be recorded, and he doesn't even care what those consequences are, that's the most dangerous person in the world. Because his giving, his charity, is totally disconnected from actual people. And so when this effective altruism insanity, which is totally evil, came out, it's evil masquerading as good, it always is. This came out, we're going to help, we're going to maximize our effective, headline, I'm a very good person, much better than you. No, you're probably, in fact, you're certainly a horrible person. And by the way, give me your wife's text. I want to find out what she thinks of you. And 100% she has contempt for him because he's a crappy husband, because he's a crappy man, because he's ignoring the people around him in favor of helping people whose names he doesn't know in order to self-aggrandize. That's just a syndrome. As my father used to say when I was growing up about the Soviets, they loved the people but hated people. And that is an absolute thing. And you see it on the left. I'm sorry. I don't want to be partisan because I hate the Republicans so much. I almost don't want to make any partisan statements at all because I hate them all. But it is a feature of the left. I'm giving my life over to the people. Really, which people? Where do you have their addresses? How are they doing? They don't care. It's totally abstract. There's no such thing as abstract love. You can't love any group of people. In fact, I don't even believe in groups of people. It's all a lie. There are people with names and fingerprints and unique histories and desires and weaknesses that need bolstering. Like, they're individuals, and that's all there is. God doesn't create groups of people at once. No woman ever gave birth to a community. It's all bullshit. All that matters are people. Ha! Thank you.
This is 8 minutes of priceless advice. Tucker Carlson, want to be happy? Care only about the opinions of people who love you. This is the true new power of X. Go fuck yourself, Elon. The enemy's filter, censorship, fake news, and gaslighting is breaking down. Have you listened to the security state's arguments in court about why they need to keep violating our First Amendment? This is after Elon's Twitter files revealed they were using social media employees as their proxy cutouts to censor for them at their direction. Summed up, what Tucker just did cuts through all of the last 50 plus years of media manipulation that has now metastasized into brainwashing and emotionally driven propaganda that is now gaslighting the living fuck out of your friends and relations. It is a reframe to your brain that, if followed, will manifest a positive change to your life and worldview practically overnight, washing away much of the globalists' stinky, nasty, bloody system of systems, dirty fingerprints on your brain, heart, and soul. If you cannot follow the universal truth Tucker, with my help, just dumped into your lap, you are going to have to examine your personal reality and ask yourself why that is. Tucker, when asked how does he stay so optimistic, happy, and upbeat, responded, it's so important to remember and to repeat it to yourself like a mantra. The opinions of people you don't know means nothing. It's actually like dogs barking, but when my dogs bark, I care. It's like handing a toddler a firearm. Why would you do that? You couldn't. You'd be insane. And so if you just take all of your emotional energy and just focus it on all the people in your orbit, if you're not married or with children, focus then on, your siblings, your parents, your cousins, your coworkers, your employees, yes, your dogs. But keep your circle, the circle of people whose opinion you care about, really small. Ignore everybody else and pay very close attention to what they, your circle, think. So in my case, I'm obviously one of the most hated people in the world, and that causes me zero stress. I couldn't care less. What Tucker's just done surpasses 1,000 chill flights. This refers, of course, to Dwayne's streams where he chats with the audience and flies a simulated plane. Tucker's life lesson freely given here is priceless, and it works. Dozens of influencers like Tucker are now rising up to decimate the globalists' vile narratives. Understand, they are not merely challenging these fake news narratives anymore. They are destroying them. And pictured here is a picture of Scott Adams, CWSA, Coffee with Scott Adams. Let's decide who is the tyrant and who is the defender of democracy. Example, this morning, and this piece was written December 4th, this morning, Scott Adams, whom I watch every morning on Locals, just kicked everything the deep Hydra state is doing right in their trans ladyballs with one bit of advice and one observation. Trump should call all of his 2024 opposition dictators and tyrants, and Trump is now unjailable. Scott's Locals and YouTube channels immediately glitched. And just as a thing, guys, don't forget to go to brentcates.substack.com. Subscribe for money. Subscribe to his sponsors, etc. When Scott Adams came back on, he immediately repeated what he'd said. In the battle between Scott Adams and the CCP over his stepson's death from a fentanyl overdose, the CCP never stood a chance. He's got the CCP as an institution and their TikTok 5G algorithmic weapon in his sights. So they're doomed. And he's doing it from his living room. Remember, I said there'd come a time when all of these deceptive and harmful BS narratives were going to be dragged onto the world stage to be messily killed? It's happening right now. Wow, look at this. Feds recommend 15-year prison sentence for ex-ABC News journalist guilty of sadistic child porn. This is the creepo journalist who debunked Pizzagate. Just 6 years, he sang, bitches. Former ABC News producer James Gordon Meek was sentenced to 72 months in prison for transportation and possession of sexual child abuse material, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced on Friday. Dom Luker and Elon Musk are tag teaming the hell out of all of the smug DC and Hollywood crowd who were chortling at them for years about how some shadowy shenanigans involving children was real and ongoing in our country. Right now, Elon Musk is the biggest influencer on Earth, wielding a big voice that the censorship machine these ghouls built cannot silence. And Elon is, with flaws, agreed, allowing us to share information, news, humor, all of it right along with him. If you were shocked by how quickly things went sideways after Trump was shoved out of D.C. Wait until you see how amazing things can change again for the better when our captured, abused, and warped hearts and minds are freed to heal and recover themselves. I consider what Tucker has just done such sterling advice that if you can follow it, easily half of all the things biting at and bothering you about your lot in life will vanish almost overnight. Like discernment and moral fiber, our foes have oh so carefully and stealthily ruined those very necessary character enhancements in our lives as they've pushed every destructive character flaw possible. With spiritual grounding comes moral force and a determination to right wrongs and give consequences to the wicked. With a high degree of discernment, consciousness, comes the ability to see right through these corruptocrats and their dark bloodline masters. We are not getting back to normal as we awaken. We are rising towards a newer, fantastic reality, one based in natural law that enhances and improves humanity, as those who sought to chain, abuse, and destroy that humanity utterly fail and fail back into the realm from which they came. Deserved fates for both parties at the conclusion of our all-important soul war. Guys, go to brentcates.substack.com. That's brentcates.substack.com, the brother of Brian Cates. So this is kind of turning into a bit of a red, what is it? A Cates Brothers extravaganza. Let's see. We're only at 42 minutes. I can definitely go longer than this for a reading Epic Threads, especially since almost 9 minutes of it was just Tucker Carlson yapping. So I think the next piece I'm going to do is going to be The Science of Brainwashing from Dr. Naomi Wolf. I haven't read it. I never read these things until I read them in front of you. Don't forget to go to angelpaste.com. That's angelpaste.com. Promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. 3 or more bottles, you get free shipping. I'm upgrading the shipping speed just a little bit to make sure that you get it by the 23rd or so. Order today. Get your Angel Paste. Give the gift of better skin. It consists only of food-grade plant oils manufactured right here in Texas by my sister Barbara, who invented it. Guys, your skin will drink it up. Angelpaste.com. Promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. All right, next, Naomi Wolf. From NaomiWolf.substack.com. Has neuroscience found the key to what caused Zombie Nation? My foreword to bombshell new book, The Indoctrinated Brain. The Science of Brainwashing by Dr. Naomi Wolf. This was written by her November 27th, 2023. Please enjoy, to the extent you can, my foreword to The Indoctrinated Brain by Dr. Michael Nels. The book, which explains the neuroscience of propaganda, will chill your soul, but may explain a great deal. The fact that the brain is plastic, meaning modifiable, has become much better understood by the public in the last few decades. General readers understand by now that the human brain can be altered and that experiences can modify its reactions and processes. We understand now, for example, that PTSD leaves lasting changes in brain functioning. It's been established that motherhood changes the brain and that bonding itself is a chemical process modified by the brain. We also understand, as general readers, that propaganda is real. Some of us have studied propaganda in the past. We have a working knowledge of Joseph Goebbels and of the artistry and craft that underlay his manufacturing of National Socialist consent. The work of Edward Bernays, one of the earliest practitioners of what became the field of public relations, has been widely read in English. Decades-old bestsellers such as Subliminal Seduction by Wilson Bryan Key exposed the fact that advertisers use every tool at their disposal to alter our reactions to their products, down to the level of the subconscious mind. Modern general audiences all understand that governments use messaging and often heavy-handed propaganda to lead us to take actions that can be against our interests or our better conscious judgments, to create prejudices and divisions that may not otherwise exist. to heighten fears and to trigger a sense of vulnerability in us so that we can be better manipulated and guided to goals that are not our own. But Dr. Michael Nells's thesis in this book is revolutionary because it brings together all of these fields of inquiry and proposes a set of questions so radical that they make the mysteries of the past 3 years fall into place. This is the indispensable book. In The Indoctrinated Brain, Dr. Nels brings these areas of study together in a way that has never been done before by applying neuroscience to the otherwise bizarre events of the recent past. He explains what has happened to humanity. Many of us have noted that our loved ones and colleagues have changed. Post-mRNA injection rollout, we noticed that people who were highly educated critical thinkers have become unable to think outside of two simple binaries. We watch in astonishment as formerly sophisticated loved ones and friends regurgitate talking points with no self-awareness. We wonder why there is a sense of something inchoately missing when we sit with a vaccinated or COVID-fearful friend. We cannot fathom what has caused this sea change. Dr. Nells's hypothesis can explain it. The indoctrinated brain introduces a largely unknown, powerful neurobiological mechanism whose externally induced dysfunction underlies these catastrophic developments, as the publisher notes. Dr. Nels argues that the spike protein, along with other COVID measures, represents an intentional attack on the human hippocampus, where autobiographical memory and individuality itself originate, and that fear porn keeps us from holding on to the autobiographical memories that encompass our former selves. As a result, humans have become de-individualized, more suggestible, more forgetful, more compliant, and less able to engage in critical thinking and creative reasoning. This argument utterly accords with what many of us are seeing, to our horror, every day. Dr. Nells's The Indoctrinated Brain is an indispensable book because it applies neuroscience to politics, and especially to the politics of fascism. The need for what has existed for as long as modern fascism. The need for that has existed for as long as modern fascism has existed. Neuroscience should be applied to politics and to social change, but it is rare indeed when those fields of analysis meet. By bringing these fields of knowledge together and mapping neurological science against propaganda and vice versa, Dr. Nels brings vast new insights to the reader that would not have been attainable previously. After you read The Indoctrinated Brain, you will think, of course, the propaganda of the past few years must have been predicated upon intensive study of the brain and its reactions. Of course, the hundreds of millions of dollars that were recently spent and are currently being spent by the US and other governments on behavioral science and behavior modification would result in insights that would be applied by the US and other governments to making populations more tractable, less able to reason, less creative, and more compliant. Why else would they so heavily have invested in such studies? Of course, the constant messaging, especially about fear over the past 3 years, would have an effect that is not just about public health, or perhaps not at all about public health, but that it is rather about making humans in free societies more tractable, with public health as the excuse, the proxy for this deployment of life-altering and consciousness-altering fear. It is not the fear porn about the specific scary thing that matters, Dr. Nels persuasively argues here. The fear itself is deliverable. The fear itself changes and indeed damages the brain. I've long been interested in the psychiatric effects and, as I guessed, intentionalities behind lockdowns and pandemic messaging. But I did not have the neuroscientific background to understand exactly what was being done to the people via lockdowns and the fear porn of the pandemic years related to the virus to other human beings. Through my study of the psychiatric effects of torture and isolation, that I took on for a book about closing democracies, I realized that isolation causes profound and sometimes permanent changes in the brain. I knew intuitively in the post 9/11 global war on terror years that constant fear would wear down faculties needed for critical thinking, and I applied those insights to the isolation and fear messaging of 2020 to 2022, but I did not have the complete picture. This book provides that complete picture. It is the aha hypothetical for our time. The indoctrinated brain provides the missing practical knowledge of neuroscience that explains why isolating people creates a more befuddled, more easily manipulated population. It explains exactly why a message that closeness with other human beings can kill you or can kill others, especially your grandma, through physical closeness might rewire the human brain to create the vulnerability to delusion and bad science and cult-like thinking that many of us observed in formerly critically thinking loved ones and friends post-2020. It even raises the question of whether the spike protein contributes to brain fog and to the erasure of a sense of an autonomous, resilient, individuated, and questing self. If Dr. Nels is right, his theory here will be as important as Dr. Sigmund Freud's discovery of the subconscious, if not more so. If he is right, his theory explains why governments around the world mandated lockdown measures and mRNA injections, which would not ultimately then be about public health, but about creating manipulable, passive citizens. If Dr. Nels is right, it explains so many baffling features of the past 3 years, notably the fact that formerly thoughtful, highly individuated leaders of institutions down to rank and file citizens followed cult-like dicta without a murmur and pursued nonsensical goals such as isolation, masking, and submission to vaccine mandates without protest. Dr. Nels's thesis would explain the bizarre experience many of us are having of watching our formerly analytical loved ones find themselves unable to keep two thoughts in their heads at the same time, unable to engage in calm debate without exploding emotionally, unable to maintain contact and connection with people with whom they disagree. As I write, another global crisis is being spun up, this one in the Middle East. Within a day, highly educated and formerly skeptical loved ones of mine are repeating glaring legacy media talking points without any self-consciousness. It's upsetting not to know why they would change in this way, and it is even more upsetting, though incredibly enlightening, to read Dr. Nels's argument and realize what the cause may be of their submissiveness to propaganda narratives. It makes it both easier and harder to contend with loved ones, friends, and colleagues who have been intellectually blunted in this way. To understand Dr. Nels's point of view and realize that this sad change in cognition might be simply physical, the spike protein, and neuropsychiatric, the repetition of fear messages and their impact on the brain. In my social media feed today, on a day when the news has brought images of endless atrocities to our media streams, and when we are being told that this Friday will be a day of jihad with plenty of stabbings, someone wrote, "Protect your amygdala." That meant, do not expose yourself to endless scenes of rape, murder, beheadings, atrocities, and horrors. Dr. Nels's book is ultimately a hopeful one, since if we understand the damage to our brains from both spike proteins and fear pornography, we can find ways to protect ourselves and our conscious minds. I appreciate the practical suggestions Dr. Nels gives us to do just that. It is scary that we are living in a time in which there is, as Dr. Nels so powerfully points out, a war on our brains. But it must be less scary to understand what is being done to us with Dr. Nels's help so we can protect and strengthen our autobiographical memory and critical thinking, so we can survive this onslaught with the full range of our intelligence and our humanity intact. And to support the work of Dr. Naomi Wolf, go to Amazon and look for Facing the Beast, Courage, Faith, and Resistance in a New Dark Age, or go to naomiwolf.com. And don't forget, guys, this piece was written to promote the book, The Indoctrinated Brain. I don't particularly have much interest in the physical science observations and conclusions of a neuroscientist. I regard neuroscience as a largely inchoate field and in some ways probably a mystical field, but noting of sociological correlations by a neuroscientist are certainly interesting. The effect of propaganda on behavior of large populations, to the extent that it can be studied statistically, is useful. Anything that a neuroscientist says about the so-called spike protein is of no value to me. Anything that they say about the so-called chemical processes that cause certain behaviors, I also regard as having no value and largely coming from the, I would say, disproven materialist perspective of human life. That being said, I would definitely strongly recommend anything that Dr. Naomi Wolf says is good stuff. She's a brilliant woman and a magnificent member of the freedom community. And we're pushing an hour, guys. You know what? You know what your skin wants? Your skin wants angel paste. My skin wants angel paste right now. Always needs a little bit more. I have the incredible privilege of having access to the original supply of angel paste. I'll never run out of the stuff. Don't run out of angel paste, guys. There are occasionally, not right now, we're doing really well, pulling all-nighters and stuff. There are occasionally interruptions in the supply of angel paste. We work very hard to make that not happen. But if you're running low, order your angel paste today. Remember, if you get 3 or more bottles, you get free shipping. I'm upping the shipping speed, trying to get it under your Christmas tree in time. Make my job easier if you can. Get your orders in now. Go to angelpaste.com. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. All right. Fun show. Good show. Love all of y'all. And let's pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.